Welcome to Financial Insights. My name is Chimwemwe and today is day one of the Energy Forum for Africa conference that is happening at the Mulungu International Conference Center. This is a 3-day event that will be happening from the 14th to the 16th of August 2023 right here in Lusaka, Zambia. This year's theme is being held under the theme Investment Opportunities in the Energy Sector in Zambia and Africa. Now we are going to be bringing you more insights right here on Financial Insights.
What are the priority areas for energy that your government is going to prioritize in order to attract investment in the energy sector?
First, we have demands outstripping supply of energy. Therefore, we have to generate energy. We have to transmit the energy. We have to deliver it where it's needed. At a saloon shop, at a farm to irrigate, at a mine, at a factory, in your home. That's our agenda. So anything that stands in the way of slowing this agenda, whether it's a law, a regulation, a policy, a regulation, a law, we will dismantle it so that we can deliver energy sufficiency and surplus. Very simple. So anything that stands in the way, if it's you, we'll put you aside. We want delivery. What we were doing in Mamba yesterday, we said we'll do it, and we did it. We raised the money, $400 million from this market, and the construction is started. We went to officiate it yesterday, and 24 months' time from now, both turbines, both generators, 150 megawatts, 300, will be supplying power to the grid, into your home, into a farm, into a mine, into a factory. That's the language we want. That's the way we want to work. Different culture, delivery. That's all.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir.
That the various strikes.
Indicate that we are challenged by the energy deficit in this country. I know some of the speakers have already touched on it, but I'm very grateful for the things that you've indicated already in your messages. All of you have spoken. But really, we have an energy crisis in this country and in the region and beyond in the continent. It's extremely important that we acknowledge this challenge. And for us now as a country, this thing, yes, is occasioned by the drought, quite right, but it is causing now national insecurity to ourselves because we have economic growth objectives, and these objectives are being hampered by basically maybe having not planned for this situation, the drought. Of course, the food insecurity is obvious, but the energy insecurity and consequential insecurities in the whole economy, because energy drives, electricity drives everything that we want to do and I'll touch on that just a moment. So this insecurity is now a regional insecurity, an African insecurity. And because energy is not sufficient in the quantities, yes, we need it to drive factories, to drive value addition, to drive more investments. It is basically creating a situation where we're not creating as many jobs as we would have loved to create for our youthful population in our country, SADC region, and the continent as a whole. So I think this context is why we should work in a different way. And I would like to agree with those that have spoken before me, that we need to work in a different way, not business as usual. Otherwise, we'll not be able to deliver on our agenda. And we also want to indicate, I want to indicate that we should not just respond in a manner that is knee-jerk, in a manner that is like spur of the moment. So we really should respond in a holistic way. Emergencies, yes, as I've stated already, we all agree, but also which means immediate, remedies, medium-term and long-term remedies are very, very important towards a lasting solution to our energy crisis, but also to triggering the economic development, the levels of economic development that we want to see in this country. And I do believe in my colleagues, leaders of the neighboring countries in our region, East African community, ECOWAS, West African community, and the north part of Africa. We all want to grow our economies much, much, much faster for reasons that are obvious. Growth will deliver opportunities for our young people, jobs, businesses, and also women and the population as a whole. And indeed, to look after the weak, the old, the sick in society. We need economies to grow at a much faster rate. I think that's, again, a given. I take that as a given. And of course, as we endeavor to grow our economies, driving the energy sector to help us deliver that, we also need to do it in an environmentally acceptable way. Because part of the reason we are here and this knee-jerk reaction we're having is because of climate change, which is now distorting our weather patterns. And I want to remind Zambians and the region, for us in Zambia, we are saying this year's drought is the worst in living memory. But actually, this drought has been lingering on. If you remember the season before, we had in one season a drought and a flood. In the same season, if I'm not wrong, 2022, 2023, and now 2023, 2024, we have this worst drought. I do remember that, for example, to put things in context, 2022, 2023, Tanzania was short of maize, and we had to give them maize because they had a drought there. And this year is a reverse. So this thing is here to stay with us. Climate change is here to stay with us. So we must implement solutions that also take account of mitigation measures. So what we do is sustainable, it recognizes the climate change challenges or agenda that we have. Let me indicate at this stage that I was whispering to Hope upstairs in a short meeting we had that this government does not need motivation. This UPND, New Dawn government, does not need motivation to do what it needs to do to support this agenda. We are basically probably ahead of even the private sector, pushing for things that we need to get done, which are long overdue in this country. Reforms. Immediately we took office, we began to work on reforms. I remember Green Co having meetings. You came to State House. Your colleagues, where's the Green Co colleague? You came to State House early on, and we indicated to you that we are fully on board. We are aligned on this matter. But we're not happy with the slowness with which we're implementing measures. And that's why I scribbled that note to Hope before she went. I said, at the end of the day, we would like the private sector to help us in the public sector to basically implement what we agree with expeditiously, not dragging our feet. So anyway, the government of Zambia, this UPND government, is committed to the reforms.
Thank you very much, Chimwemwe. I think it was a very good initiative by Mimshach to bring together the energy sector players, both from the public sector and the private sector and the government. You know where we are now, we're in an energy crisis, and this thing has happened before, but this initiative must be supported in that we're going to bring players into the sector who can bring solutions. We know the problems. We've known this problem for years, but now we need to bring in solutions, and some of the solutions must be very innovative to address the current situation and long-term views, so that we don't have to go into this cycle again of shortage of energy. And we believe Mimshach have done a great job bringing together all these players into the sector. And coming from the government, I think the government has thrown the challenge. I mean, they said they're ready to support any initiative coming from the players in the sector. From the policy-wise, I think it's been very clear. They're very supportive. They want the energy sector to drive this economy, both from the point of view of the critical sectors like mining, agriculture, tourism, and the sector itself specifically, that we need to move in that direction. They are ready for business. They will support us in whatever we want to do. So the government is just saying through the presidential address that they are ready to support the sector to grow and support this economy. So the challenge is back to the players now. What is it that we can do to move the sector? Whether you're a generator, you're a transmission company, you're a distribution company, and even a customer. There are all these opportunities. Out of this crisis, I think, we're having opportunities which can take this country forward, and the region as well. You've seen a lot of participation from the regional players as well. The banks are all here, developers are here, we've got large-scale customers like the mines are all here. We believe that this conference is very key to moving the sector forward and helping Zambia, in particular, get over this crisis, and the region as well to develop business opportunities in the energy sector.
Talking about getting rid of the energy crisis that we're currently facing as Zambia, the President, Mr. Mwale, in his keynote speech, actually encouraged a lot of Zambians to come on board and take advantage of the crisis that we're in to build businesses and also to really also come up with solutions that will help the government to address the energy crisis. Also, he also talked about the net metering, which most Zambians should really take advantage of as we are going through the energy crisis. Any special message you have to the Zambian people out there in relation to the presidential keynote speech?
The bigger picture was to create opportunities out of the crisis. People can start investing in the energy sector, whether it's small scale, medium scale, or large scale. There are also opportunities. You can have a micro hydro plant, you can have a small solar plant, you can have all these opportunities which you can develop out of this crisis. So this crisis, from my point of view, has created opportunities in terms of business development.
In your view, Professor, why is it important to really come up with such a conference that brings together key players in the energy sector, especially that we're going through an energy crisis as Zambia?
Yes, and I think what you've just said there is the main reason. We have a crisis that has been in the making for quite some time. So it does make sense to just pause and reflect, and then make very definite plans to ensure that this kind of crisis doesn't happen again. So that is the context in which I feel that this conference is important.
So the president gave a presidential keynote speech, and he really brought out quite a number of insights in his speech. Kindly just share with us what are some of your key take-homes, Professor? What are your highlights from the presidential speech that was given today at the Energy Conference?
Yes, the president's remarks were wide-ranging. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him speak. My main interest is in the enabling environment, the framework of laws and policies under which the energy sector operates. And what I found refreshing, new, and perhaps even revolutionary is the very strong commitment the President conveyed about ensuring that if any laws need to be changed, they will be changed. If regulation needs to be changed, they will be changed. In fact, he specifically said, unless it's to do with the Constitution, we shall tackle it. And I think we haven't had that kind of message from such a high level for quite some time. As I told you, I've been in the industry for a long time, And over this period, I've interacted with many project developers wanting to bring their projects to operation, to commercial operation, and it's been a very difficult task. And many of the issues really have to do with the laws, with the regulation, with procedures. So that message for me was important. The other important message for me was the emphasis on enabling nationals to be active participants in the energy sector. The lifting of regulations for generation up to 5 megawatts, I think is really exciting. Of course, it has to be, the devil is in the detail. We have to look at the detail. What does that mean in reality? One area where this would be, I think, very welcome, what are known as the commercial and industrial consumers. They do have capacity to, that includes farmers, by the way, they do have capacity to set up these systems and be less dependent on the interconnected system. And that will relieve ZESCO of the whole country of having to find financing for big centralized stations because some of that load will be taken off.
Hi everyone, it's Mwelwa, and I am on day one of a 3-day event that's happening at Mulungushi on energy. And I'm about to have a very, very interesting conversation with someone from Stanbic Bank, who's going to tell us a little bit about how she found the morning session. As you're aware, Financial Insider and Stanbic Bank have very, very great relations, and it's always a pleasure to have Helen, with us on the show. Helen, how are you doing?
Hi, Mwelwa. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's always a pleasure, hey?
Always. Thank you.
Absolutely. So now we've got the energy forum for Africa conference that's happening at Mulungushi in Lusaka, Zambia. This morning we witnessed the president give his opening remarks, and he graciously opened this particular event. How did you feel about that particular event, and how optimistic about you about the next 3 days of discourse at this event?
The energy sector for me right now is the most exciting sector. It's a very challenging, and it's actually having devastating impact, the fact that we don't have adequate or reliable energy supply, but it's also a very exciting sector because of the opportunities that it presents. The key theme that's been coming out of this, just this morning, we've only had a morning session so far, the key message that's been coming out is about implementation. So enough of the talking, enough of the reading exam papers, it's now about writing the exam. I think that's the metaphor that was used this morning. And the president reiterated that by saying, I want deliverables. And I want us to meet those deliverables because we've got growth targets to meet. And we need to work to implement to meet those growth targets. And he also made a point of stressing that we need holistic solutions. Solutions that will meet short-term, medium-term, and long-term. It is no longer BAU, and I think that's the key message that we need to understand as a country, as a region, that the BAU in terms of energy supply and energy generation, the single supplier model, that is gone. So we need to come up with, and we need to implement diverse solutions for meeting the energy requirements that are going to be needed to meet our growth targets.
Absolutely. And, obviously for this particular conference, we're graced by, some representatives from Group as well, which obviously reinforces and does send a very big signal in terms of how the group is obviously positioning itself around energy. But just to give maybe just say, just a general comment around that, what sort of key messaging do the general public need to look out for, especially when Stanbic Bank is communicating around energy and how it's positioning itself?
Stanbic Bank is focused on the energy and infrastructure. Because with the infrastructure, that also comes around the energy requirements and the energy build. So we have our own team on the ground, but we also are supported by experts sitting at Group. So I think in part of the display that we had today, we demonstrated that we've spent over $2 billion across the continent in energy projects, and predominantly renewable energy projects. Because as we are striving to meet the energy demands, we also need to balance this out with the fact that we need to protect our environment and we need to protect our earth for the future generations. And the president also made a point when he was talking about having holistic solutions. He also made a point about talking about that. So with Stanbic Bank Zambia, you can be guaranteed that we sit down, we can talk about delivering financing solutions for the energy sector. And we can pull the expertise from our team, who sit from a group perspective, who are in country and will be also sitting on some of the panels. And these are team members that are not new to Zambia. They have been on the ground, they're working with us in trying to solution for some of these energy projects that are coming up. And we will be making some announcements later on this year on some of those that we will be bringing to financial closure at the end of the year. So over the course of the 3 days, our team members in country, as well as those supporting us from the expertise that we have at group level, will be participating in the panel discussions and as well as the workshops. Thanks.
All right. Wonderful. No, thank you very much. And there you've heard it for yourself from Helen from Stanbic Bank. So stay tuned for more insights from the Energy Forum for Africa and get to know.
So, Mr. Peter, the president in his keynote speech was actually encouraging Zambians and also investors to really come on board and, come up with solutions to help Zambia address the energy crisis that we're currently facing as a nation. And I'm very excited that you have, in your introduction, you've actually talked about being the CEO of your own energy producing plant. So just kindly shed more light on the keynote speech by the president and also what are some of your key take-homes?
Well, I think he really hit the big nail here, which is about financing. And, we've done enough talking and it's time for some action. And we need action for the reasons, as he said, for the general well-being of the country, for health, education and the economy. And geothermal is a special niche because it is baseload. It operates at 95% capacity. Solar operates at 15%, to put that into perspective. And we have got here with private investment. We are actually right now, and it's very interesting, the president should raise it, offering a discount to Zambian investors coming in at this stage of the development before the big commercial investors come in at the end of the year. So I've taken that one on and we're already doing it.
So what does it mean to you receiving support from the government? If we have to look way back, Mr. Peter, it was very, very hard for independent power producers to really come and set up in Zambia. Now that we have backing from the government, what does it mean to you as the CEO of your own thermal company?
Okay, when we started, there was no prospect of putting geothermal on the market at that stage. Tariffs were too low, independent power producers were really not encouraged, and in the 12 years that we have been working, things have changed significantly, and tariffs have gone up and are pretty much economically viable, certainly for geothermal power. And the regulatory field has been cleared for us. We've had a lot of problems with geothermal being misidentified as mining or oil and gas, which has a completely different tax regime for imports. We have to import a lot of equipment. It's not just a pile of panels. And we have over the years struggled with severe tax burden on the import duty. That has now all been lifted, which is fantastic, which means that we know a dollar in actually produces a dollar out, which is fantastic. And I'm looking forward to bringing this into production.
Yes. So any special message that you have to the Zambian people out there in relation to also coming on board to really, really come up with companies that help address the energy crisis that we're currently facing as a nation?
Okay, so geothermal is interesting because not only do we produce electricity, but we produce heat and cold. So for instance, if you were in an industry like a food processor, 80% of your energy demand would actually be for heat and only 20% of electricity. So we can actually help those sort of industries by not converting it into electricity and then back again. So we are building a multifaceted economic zone that industries which need a lot of heat or a lot of cooling, like cold room value chains, can come close to us. They are then very close to the main Livingston-Lusaka Road and the railhead at Monse. and we can provide them chilling and or heat at a fraction of the cost it would cost if they would convert electricity. So there are three things. It's tri-generation. And I think it's important for Zambia to be involved, or people in Zambia to be involved in a homegrown product. You can't take electricity in like copper and deliver it somewhere else. Every megawatt that we produce is actually for Zambia, and that's a big difference. And I think Zambia should get behind that more so than behind the mining almost, because it is homegrown and it is for the home market.
Hi everyone, it's Mwelwa Kenneth and I am currently at Mulungushi, a conference center where something amazing has finally happened. With me to tell me about the Energy Forum Africa is none other than Engineer Hope Chanda, who is the brainchild, if I can call it that, of this fantastic first ever event in Zambia. This morning we witnessed the official launch by President Dr. Hakainde Hichilema of the Energy Forum Africa, and Hope is going to tell us about how she feels right now. Hope, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm so excited. This has been a groundbreaking event for me, and looking at what has happened, I am just thankful, really, and grateful to all the stakeholders, especially His Excellency the President himself, for coming through and for giving us support, but more so thinking about the task that he has given us as we go forward. Yeah,
absolutely. And obviously he was very, very detailed and elaborate in his speech, but just for our viewers who obviously did not get a chance to watch the live stream, are you able to just give us the key points of your speech and the clear message that you delivered to the President and to all the delegates at this event?
That's right. I think the key point is that we are here to provide a solution. We will not lament. The challenge is here. We acknowledge the challenge, but we believe that we have the capacity, we have the know-how to circumvent this situation, and come 2030, we should be energy sufficient. And then our core business, really, I think, as I presented, this is a spotlight, the renewable energy spotlight, the projects that we have lined up. Those projects we are going to go hand-holding with the developers to make sure that the time that has been set for these projects is kept, especially those that are already beginning, the ones that are 25 megawatts, 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts, looking at 8 months, 12 months, as well as 24 months, they should come on board. So we are going to go hand-holding, looking at the financing part, looking at the technical aspect, as well as looking at the political aspect. So we will form task force committees. These will run through and hand-hold these projects so that come target time, we are within, or at least within a minimum time range of completion. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Hope, obviously you have managed to attract several key stakeholders, and I think you summed it up. It was, stakeholders from government, stakeholders from private sector, and, obviously, other stakeholders. But are you now more and more convinced that, events such as yours going forward will become ever so more important, especially when it comes to finding solutions, especially for the challenges we have?
Exactly, because that is why we are going to put together the heads of all the sponsors and our invited guests from other countries in a forum we are calling CEO's Forum, where they will talk about funding mechanisms, collaborations, partnerships, and then work around decision-making, networking events, because we want them to have a time that they can speak to each other. And this is an opportunity for them to speak to each other, because every one of them is busy going for their targets independently. But then we are also looking at a situation where we can be interdependent, where we see the private sector is working together with the government, also working together with the quasi-government companies. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then just your final thoughts. What are your aspirations over the next 3 days?
Over the next 3 days, we expect that the workshops the workshops should deliver something tangible for the middle management stakeholders, because we believe that these are the people who are doing the work. So if they have to do studies of integrating renewable energies, we want them to be excellent. We want them to know what to do. If they are going to structure a project in terms of financing, we want them to know how to do the financial modeling of a renewable energy. We also want them to know energy trading. We want them to know all aspects, including a PPA, how to draft a PPA. So we have a workshop on a PPA, we have a workshop on energy trading, we have a workshop on carbon trading. So we do not want to leave this middle management out, because we know that they are the wheels that are running all these activities. Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Engineer Hope, and we wish you all the best for the remaining days.
Thank you so much, Financial Insights.
There you have it. So continue to follow all the insights from this year's energy event. I've been your host for this interview, Mwelwa Kenneth Chibesakunda. Get to know.